Hello everybody, welcome to the beginning of a video tutorial series on how to create a Zelda-like boss battle game where you control a little dog and you're fighting against this like mailman dude. So the end result hopefully should end up something like this, where we're moving around and hit the boss, and there will be like a little score at the top on how many times I've hit him before I've died. This video is just going to be about setup, and if you're taking my class, then I have an asset package for you to import into a new project for you to be set up into the scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to new project. I'm going to call my new project dog battle game. I'm going to use a 2D template. And then you can save it in whatever location you need. Yeah, I don't need any of these asset packages right now. Okay. So I'm working off my computer at home, and I have the free version of Unity. So I have the leitmotif, which it might look different, especially with the computers that we use in the classroom, which it has the dark theme. Another few things to note while this is loading: I don't have any particular skill in video recording and editing. I actually kind of hate it, so bear with me. And something that was helpful to past students is to watch these videos on like 1.25 times speed. If I go a little slow, as you can tell, I stammer over my words a little bit. Alright, so I have this new scene, and if you're a student, you can go into Blackboard, and I have a setup for you here: dog battle game, video tutorials and materials. And I have the dog game setup asset package. You can download that. And when you've downloaded it, you can import it into your project by going into the top left into assets, import package, custom package. So I have this dog game set up. I'm going to hit open. And it's going to give me a checklist of all the things that I want to import. I'm going to go ahead and just import everything. It's an empty folder, so we shouldn't really have to worry about any of that. So we'll import. Alright, once that's imported, we can take a look at some of the things that I've included here in the package. So the first thing is I have a scene called main game. We can click that, and that's our this is the area that we'll be working in for the game, for the little boss battle to take place. Something that we have to edit here is because we're not importing project settings in our, this is a tile map. And hopefully you were in class when we went over how to make a tile map, but we have several different layers here, and we need to, since it's not imported in, we need to add sorting layers for all of these. So we're going to add a bunch of sorting layers. I'm going to just make a bunch here. I'm going to make a ground layer for our black background. I'm going to make a foreground. I'm going to create, maybe I'll call them foreground 1 and 2, foreground 1, foreground 2, and then we'll have detail ground layer, ground detail maybe. And then also a layer for the player. So the sorting layer for the player is going to be in between the foreground and the background. So let's go into each one of these tile maps and make sure that we have the correct sorting layer. So this one's going to be ground. Once I've applied, you can see it tries to sort it that way now. But once I get the correct sorting layers to these guys, then we'll start seeing the correct layout. Call that foreground 1. We actually don't need the tile map collider here. You can remove it or not, and that's fine. And I'm going to call this the ground detail layer. Trees background can also be ground detail. If we have two layers with the same sorting layer, we can say which one we want to appear over the other by changing the order. So if this is smaller than the trees background, the trees are going to show in front of this fence like you see here. So we want that to be above. Yeah. And since we're not using collision with this, I could rename this guy. But I don't want to make that confusing for the asset package. I'll just leave the name as collision, even though we don't really, we don't have a collider on that anymore. Okay, so what else do we want to look at? So it comes with some animations for our dog character and the mailman. We have a bunch of audio that we're going to work with over the course of the video series. I created a material. There's a few things that I imported or included in the package that were just for polish effects. They're not going to be covered really in the sort of objectives of this series, but I wanted to include them to just make the game feel a little bit better. And that's this material, this prefab, this ghost prefab. It's basically going to give us a trail of the projectile, and some of these scripts. So there's a camera shake effect and that ghost effect that are going to use this prefab and material. Scenes I covered, we have the main game scene, and sprites. We have a lot of different sprites that were imported in a specific way. So if I check this out, most of our sprites are going to be 16 pixels per unit, with the exception of our dog and our projectile. Oh no, just the tile set is going to be 16 pixels per unit. And they've all been sliced with the sprite editor to give us a bunch of different sprites. And I've already made a tile map and a tile palette. So if I open up the window for 2D tile palette, then you can see we've already have a tile palette created, which is saved in our tiles folder, and all the tile assets that have been generated from that are in our tiles folder. Yeah, hopefully you had a chance to join the class where we had messed around with the tile map. Okay, so I hope that serves as an introduction to this video series. The next video we're going to get our player character moving.